In this video, we're going to talk about if you should rent or if you should buy. And we're going to get going on this right now. Hey everyone, my name is Darren Rivers. I am the Northwest Realtor, and I'm actually in my office right now here at RE/MAX Exclusive in Gig Harbor, Washington. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the rental market versus the housing market, and maybe if it would be better for you to rent or if it's better for you to buy. Hey, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Tap that little bell so you can get all your notifications. I send out about videos, once a week or so, just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on here in Gig Harbor. The housing market in general, just the surrounding area, what it has to offer, all that sort of stuff. So this is very much an educational, all-around educational channel for Gig Harbor, Washington, some of the surrounding areas as well. So share it with a friend, make a little comment in the comment section, reach out to me. My number and everything is right here. Send me a text, give me a call, send me an email. Whatever you like, share this channel with somebody, and let's get started on what we're going to talk about today, right now, right here, renting versus buying. All right, so let's talk first about rentals and give you an idea of what you're going to pay for a rental. So this comes from a website called rentalcafe.com, and this is just for apartments, okay, just apartments in Gig Harbor. The average rental for an apartment is $1,900 a month, and the average apartment size that you're renting is 985 square feet. It's most likely a 2-bedroom, maybe a 2-bath, and that's an apartment, okay? Let's transition to just your standard bread and butter house. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet in Gig Harbor. The rent is going for around $3,000 to $3,300 a month. Now, of course, that's going to vary a little bit one way or the other depending on exact location and features in the house and all this stuff, but that pretty much gives you a ballpark. You're talking a little over $3,000 for just a standard 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house for rent. And, my job, and I tell my clients, I'm very direct. I don't want to give any, false illusions of things, or I just want people to have realistic expectations. So the rent, there's some distinct disadvantages with renting, okay? Your rent's always going to go up. You might be in a lease for a year, or for that year you're locked in, but guess what? At the end of that year, most landlords are going to increase your rent. And if you don't want to do it, they'll say, okay, well, you can leave, and they'll find somebody else that can. And that's not the landlords being greedy. That's just what the market is. The supply versus demand of rentals is just not in the renter's favor, and they need a place to live. And so with rentals, every year your rent is going to increase and increase and increase. And even in down housing markets like the housing crash of 2008, housing prices went down. Rental rates did not go down. They may have plateaued for a little while, but guess what? They kept creeping up. So that's a disadvantage of rentals. The other thing is you have to come in with money. It's not like you just move into a place. You got to do a security deposit. Sometimes there's a non-refundable cleaning deposit. Sometimes there's a non-refundable pet deposit. There's money that you have to put up, and oftentimes much of it is non-refundable. Also in this area, for the most part, utilities are not included in the rental. Every once in a while, a landlord will pay the water bill for you because they want to encourage you to water the lawn in the summer or something like that. But for the most part, power, internet, water, sewer, garbage, whatever it may be, those are not included in your rent. So you are paying those things. And realize, and this is the last thing I'm going to talk about on the rental thing, is basically you're paying somebody else's mortgage for them. I mean, the landlord has a rental for a purpose, and that is for them to get cash flow. It's a business for them. So you might be paying $3,200 a month in rent, And I would virtually guarantee that their mortgage is substantially less than that, especially if they've had the place for 10, 12 years, which I'm going to dive into as far as the advantages of owning here in a minute. But their mortgage might be $1,800 a month. And so they're making $1,200, $1,400 a month on you just because you're paying their mortgage for them and the cost of living there. I mean, that's just how it works. So, so some of those are the disadvantages of renting. Now, obviously, some people are not in a position to buy. Some people are only going to be assigned here for a project for maybe 6 months. You know, traveling nurses, you're coming in on a big construction crew and you have a project on one of the freeways that they're doing and you're here for 6 months. Well, buying probably doesn't make sense. And renting might be the more advantageous way to go. But if you're going to be here for the long term, even just a couple years, you know, looking into homeownership is especially with how the housing market has gone over the last couple of years and how it's projected to continue to go, that'd be something I'd seriously look at. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of homeowners that I helped buy just not long ago, and then something changed in their life and they had to sell, and they are coming out ahead. Okay, I have two examples. One was last summer. I had a client who was a physician here in town, or in Tacoma actually, and they bought a house for $525,000. It was in Port Orchard. And 6 months later, she got a job opportunity in Spokane that she just couldn't turn down. And they called me and said, hey, you know, it's only been 6 months. And after all the costs to sell a house, real estate commissions, excise tax, title escrow fees, all those things add up. They're like, gosh, we hope we can just break even. Well, 6 months went by and I sold their house for $587,000, and after all of their fees and everything, they still came out tens of thousands of dollars ahead. So in a 6 month period of time, they profited. I have another example of that going on right now as well. It's funny, they're both physicians. This one is a military physician. He is at Madigan Army Medical Center. I helped him and his wife buy a brand new construction house in June of 2021. And they paid just over $600,000 for it. And he just got an opportunity to go to North Carolina, great job opportunity, so he's going to put his house on the market to sell, and it's on the market right now for $665,000, and I already have 3 offers in hand, and they're climbing well above that point. So again, after all of their fees to sell a house, lo and behold, they're going to walk away with a profit in 6 months. In this case, it'll be 8 months. 8 months period of time, they're going to walk away with a pretty handsome profit that they can turn around and put on another house. So this is kind of a little tangent I'm going on, so bear with me for a minute. So this is what I wanted to get at, is I've had a lot of buyers come to me over the last year or two thinking that we're in this, quote, bubble, and you know, the housing market is ridiculous and people are overpaying and they're just going to wait for it to, you know, come back to its senses, drop back down, and then they'll purchase. Well, those guys, I'm calling now a year later and saying, hey, that house that you wanted to buy a year ago is now worth $100,000 more because the market's gone up. It's gone up crazy in the last couple years because supply and demand, interest rates low, all the things that come into what drives a market up. That all played the case here in the housing market. The projections are the housing market's going to continue to climb. Nationwide, it's supposed to climb 8 to 10%, which means here in the West Coast, and particularly the Puget Sound area, it's going to go up 10 to 15%. So if you look at the housing market over history, just like the stock market, has there been little dips here and there? Yep, sure enough. But it always goes up. You know, one of the lines that my team and I use is, when is the best time to buy? Yesterday. And if not yesterday, then today. But waiting a month or 3 months or 4 months, in all likelihood, and in this market in the projected future, it's going to continue to rise. So if the longer you wait, the more expensive a home you're going to be buying. So let's talk about the actual buying part, and let's use that same house, that standard 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot that you would rent for $3,000, $3,300, somewhere in that range, right? Well, today, if you were to purchase that home and do a 20% down, your mortgage payment with taxes and insurance would be around $3,500, $3,600 a month. Now, yes, that's slightly higher than a rental rate for 1 year. That's it. Because in a year, whenever your lease expires on the rental and the landlord raises the rent 10%, all of a sudden that payment is more than the home that you own, because that payment will never change unless you refinance it. And here's what I tell my clients is every once in a while when buying a home, the first year might be a little tight. You know, you're spending more money per month than you're accustomed to and this and that. But over the coming years, you're probably going to continue to make more and more and more money, and your housing payment will never change, ever. So in 5 years, when you're making twice the money, or 10 years when you're making twice the money, let's just say, you know, you make $100,000 a year. Well, in 5 years, you're not going to be making $100,000 a year. You might be making 130, you might be making 150, Lord only knows, right? But if your payment is still down at the $3,000 mark, and all of a sudden you're making 50% more money, well, that's pretty comfortable. And that includes, like I said, that includes property taxes and insurance. Now, these are all rough estimates. It's going to vary property to property, house to house, all that sort of stuff. But over the long haul, for sure, renters suffer and homeowners reap the benefits. Your house will appreciate. The housing market will continue to go up, even if it did a dip in 3 or 4 years for a little bit, or it flattened out for a little bit. It's going to continue to rise. Just look at history. History repeats itself over and over and over and over. The other thing that they say, that's a big term, right? They're building the road, they're doing whatever, they're making the laws. They say is homeowners are 44% wealthier than renters. And it's because they're just reinvesting in their own assets, their own real estate portfolio, their own home, which is going to continue to gain value. And if you're a renter, you're just paying somebody else's mortgage for them, and you don't get any of the benefits from it. Also, realize if you have a house payment, you get to write off your interest rate. So that's a tax deduction. So there's all sorts of benefits of being a homeowner as far as your dollars today go, but where you really reap the benefit is 5, 10, 20 years down the road when your house is worth twice as much as it was. That's where it comes into play. I just want to touch on a couple more things. I mentioned a loan of 20% down. There is no standard anymore. You don't need to do 20% down. There's many, many different loan programs. You might be a veteran and you could use your VA benefit, which is a true 0% down. If you're a first-time home buyer, there's loan programs out there for first-time home buyers. There's state funds or state bonds and grants that actually make the down payment for you. And you don't owe that money back at all unless you sell the house. And it's interest-free also. You just pay back that down payment when you sell the house for even dollars. It's a really cool program. But there's conventional loans with 5%, 10%, 15%, whatever. There's so many different loan programs out there. So if you need a referral to a local lender, I can definitely hook you up. You know, send me a message like I said earlier, or put a comment in the comment section, and I'll get you connected with a great local lender to go over all of your options for you. Last thing I'm going to touch on here is that whole term that we brought up, overpaying. People are feeling like, or some people are saying that people are overpaying for houses, and they're not. They're not overpaying. It's what the market is dictating those houses are worth. And I tell people this all the time. Hey, there's a house on the market and they have 5 offers and they're escalating to, I'm making up a number, $800,000. Okay? And I get these scoffs like, oh, they're overpaying. I'm like, well, they're not. There's 5 other buyers that are willing to pay that amount. So they're not overpaying. They're paying enough to win it and barely win it over their competitors. So it's not overpaying. Homeowners that are selling are not greedy right now. This is how it works. If they overlisted the house and they put it on too high of a list price, well, then they wouldn't get any offers and they would have to do a price reduction because the market is dictating that the house is not worth that much. But whenever they list it somewhere down here and they get multiple offers that increase that price, that is the buyers saying that they're willing to go up to here to pay for whatever amount for that particular house. So nobody overpays for a house. Nobody. And if they do, they can't say that they do because they are willing to actually do it. So like I said, I just want to be very real and transparent with you guys that it is a seller's market and the prices have gone up dramatically. I totally agree. However, that trend is going to continue, and it's truly supply and demand. People want to buy their homes, they want to live in these homes, and they're willing and able to climb up to certain dollar amounts to make that happen. And sometimes they're competing against 5, 6, 10 other offers that are driving the prices up to that point because there's 10 other people willing to pay that amount. So that's it, everybody. Renting versus buying. Obviously, you can tell from this video, unless you're here just for a short period of time or for whatever reason you just can't make it happen, it is very, very clear to me and most people in the industry that buying is very much in your favor versus renting. You will come out light years ahead financially if you buy versus rent. Unless, of course, you're only here for a few months or a very short period of time, then that's the time where it may not make sense to purchase a home. But if you can swing it, if you can make it happen, like I said, I can connect you with lenders to give you your options. There's no cost or obligation to any of that. It's just really for your education so you know what your capabilities are and what options are available to you. So just give me a call, send me a text, put a comment in the comment section. Make sure you like this video as well. And I will see you guys on the next video. But buying versus renting, if you can do it, you'll come out ahead if you buy. Guaranteed.